6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dilini Gunawardena, assisted by Sanjay Paladenia, and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. Plans are underway to provide relief to the public in the electricity tariffs in July and next January. The Prime Minister instructs officials to direct school dropouts to vocational training. The government says that a decision has not been taken to close the Lanka Sathusa. 6,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer is distributed across the island. The Chief Secretary of the SLBC says that there is no conflict between the SLBC and the President. Foreign news, the number of wounded Palestinians in Jenin raid reaches 45. Sports, ICC Cricket World Cup qualifier match is currently underway between Sri Lanka and the UAE. News in detail. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara says that plans are underway to provide concessions in the electricity tariffs to the public in next January. A proposal has been made to reduce the electricity tariff by 27%, with the revision scheduled to be implemented on the 1st of July. Meanwhile, Acting Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinghe says that the government has not arrived at a final decision regarding the restructuring of local debts. Therefore, he requested the public not to be misled by the false statements made by different parties. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena instructed the officials to take expeditious action to provide employment opportunities to the school dropouts by directing them to vocational training. The Premier expressed this view at a meeting of the Development Committee held at the Divisional Secretariat in Maharagama today. He further asked the authorities to prepare a database on the school dropouts and direct them to obtain free vocational training. Unemployment among the young school leavers may result in different social issues. It will inhibit their personal life goals as well. The details about the school dropouts should be recorded in the relevant divisional secretariats. Further, it is of utmost importance to find out the causes of school dropouts. He further emphasized that it is the responsibility of the whole society to take action to make the maximum use of the labor of these young blood. The government says that no decision has been taken to close Lanka Sathusa. The intention of the government is to continue the institution so that it can provide goods to the public at concessionary rates as well as not to burden the government in the prevailing economic crisis. Minister Nalin Fernando said that Sri Lanka Sathusa has become an active institution that serves the public. He further added that discussions are underway regarding the future plans of the institution. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Minister of Agriculture says that sufficient amounts of urea fertilizer have been provided to the agrarian service centres. Measures have reportedly been taken to deliver an additional amount of 5,100 metric tons of urea fertilizer to the agrarian service centres across the island, while another stock of 1,000 metric tons of fertilizer was also distributed today. Furthermore, the Minister of Agriculture noted that if urea fertilizer stocks are not available at any agrarian service centre, information can be accessed by contacting the sales manager of the Colombo Commercial Fertilizers Limited through the number 077 551 0674 or the distribution manager of the Ceylon Fertilizer Company Limited via the number 077 44 41 417. The numbers once again 077 551 0674 or 077 44 41 417. MP Sagara Kariyavasam, the Chief Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, says that there is no conflict between the SLBC and the President. He rejected statements made by certain politicians and media that SLBC is not in good terms with the President. He expressed these views taking part in a press conference held at the headquarters of the party today. SLBC does not intend to prevent what is deserved by the public in order to gain political advantages. The party is committed to serve the public. 61 Sri Lankans will leave for Israel tomorrow to be employed as caregivers. The opportunity has been granted by the agreement made between the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau and the Population and Immigration Authority of Israel. So far, 384 Sri Lankans have left for Israel to work as caregivers. 16 persons leaving for Israel were given air tickets by the Minister of Foreign Employment, Manusha Nanayakkara, at the Ministry of Foreign Employment recently. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In the main news story, the Indian naval submarine Vagir, the latest indigenous Calvary-class submarine of the Indian Navy, began its 4-day visit to Sri Lanka today. The Indian High Commission said its operational visit is to commemorate the 9th edition of International Day of Yoga under the theme of Global Ocean Ring. During the submarine's visit, the vessel would be open for visitors and school children. The High Commission of India, in coordination with Swami Vivekananda Cultural Centre, is scheduled to organise a grand event at the Colombo port to celebrate the International Day of Yoga on Wednesday, with the participation of senior defence hierarchy and personnel from Indian and Sri Lankan navies. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the annual Asra Maha Perahara of the Ruhunu Maha Katragama Devalaya will be held for 15 days from the 19th of June to the 4th of July on a grand scale. The final Maha Perahara will be held on Asla Full Moon Poya Day. Approximately 1.5 million devotees are expected to take part in the festival. The Central Environment Authority says irregular disposal of garbage by the pilgrims usually results in 1,700 tons of solid waste in the area during the festive season in each year. Therefore, the number of programs will be implemented to minimize the environmental pollution in the area. The authority requests the devotees to adhere to the proper procedure of waste disposal. And that came to you in Watchlight. Now moving on to world news. In the headlines, the number of wounded Palestinians in Jenin raid reaches 45. Australia sets stage for landmark indigenous rights referendum. And Swiss voters back carbon cuts as glaciers melt. The Palestinian Health Ministry has said that at least 45 people have been injured in the Israeli military's early morning on Jenin, the occupied West Bank. At least 10 of those injured are in critical condition. The number of Palestinians killed during the raid remains 3. The Israeli military has said the raid was to arrest 2 suspects, adding that Israeli soldiers came under fire, which resulted in a massive exchange of fire. Australia's parliament has passed legislation to pave the way for a historic referendum on Aboriginal rights, with voters set to decide if the indigenous population gets a dedicated voice in national policy making. The referendum will ask Australians whether they support altering the constitution to include a voice to Parliament, a committee that can advise the Parliament on matters affecting indigenous people in Australia. Voters in Switzerland have backed a new climate bill designed to cut fossil fuel use and reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The government says the country needs to protect its energy security and the environment as glaciers melt rapidly in the Swiss Alps. The law will require a move away from dependence on imported oil and gas towards the use of renewable sources. The climate bill pledges financial support of over 3 billion Swiss francs to promote the replacement of gas or oil heating systems with climate-friendly alternatives and to push businesses towards green innovation. And back to the headlines of the world news. The number of wounded Palestinians in Jenin raid reaches 45. Australia sets stage for landmark indigenous rights referendum. And the Swiss voters back carbon cuts as glaciers melt. And that ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshak Sri Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
The Hambantota International Port, HIP, will be adding a further 5,000 slots to accommodate transshipment vehicles. HIP, which currently can accommodate approximately 28,000 units, services 9 main shipping lines that actively use the port for the transshipment of RO cargo. With large volumes expected via several shipping lines in the coming months, the port management considered the rapid expansion of the RO yard an urgent necessity. In line with that, HIPG has made an $8 million investment to build another 68,000 square meters of parking space. And that was development news.
Vacancies for women from Deshakis and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 0377 500 500.
On to sports news. The third match of the Group B of the ICC Cricket World Cup qualifier is currently underway between Sri Lanka and the UAE in Bulawayo. The UAE won the toss and invited Sri Lanka to bat first. The Sri Lankan team scored 355 runs for 6 wickets at the end of the 50 overs. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
CNEC campus was recently recognized and awarded for its achievements in recognizing successful commercialization efforts of university research at an event held recently at the BMICH. The event was organized by Accelerating Higher Education Expansion and Development, AHEAD Operation, a World Bank-funded project aimed to acknowledge research teams and companies excelling in commercialization of research outcomes. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. The Sri Lankan rupee has appreciated today based on the latest data regarding the buying and selling rates of the US dollar released by the central bank. Accordingly, today's buying rate of the US dollar has been reported at 297 rupees and 53 cents, while the selling rate of the US dollar was recorded rupees 315 and 12 cents. On Friday, the buying rate of the US dollar was registered at 300 rupees and 51 cents, while the selling rate was recorded at 319 rupees and 66 cents. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Cloudy skies will prevail over the northern, north central and eastern provinces. Several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabragamuwa, central, northwestern and northern provinces and in the Galle, Matara and Trincomalee districts. A few showers will occur in the north central province. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Uva province and in the Ampara and Batiklo district during the evening or night. Strong winds, about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the western slopes of the central hills, north central province and in Putlam, Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. And that was the weather report, and prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. Plans are underway to provide relief to the public in the electricity tariff in July and next January. The Prime Minister instructs officials to direct school dropouts to vocational training. The government says that a decision has not been taken to close the Lanka Sadhusar. 6,000 metric tons of urea fertilizer is distributed across the island. The Chief Secretary of the SLBC says that there is no conflict between the SLBC and the President. Foreign news, number of wounded Palestinians in Jenin raid reaches 45. Sports, ICC Cricket World Cup qualifier match is currently underway between Sri Lanka and the UAE. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.